This is the XRP 1-month overview reading for the month of September 2023. It's currently July 26, 2023, 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time. XRP at the time of this reading is currently 0.7273 or just over 72 cents USD. And the shuffle file for the September reading was created on July 4th, 2023 at 8:51 p.m. Eastern Time. That's this video right here. So the overall theme and behavior for XRP in the month of September, the truce card is usually like a pretty sideways type of energy. You usually see like a resistance level where volatility kind of flattens out. So this may be a difficult reading to interpret exactly where the highs and the lows are, because that tends to happen with sidewaysy charts, because you see such close to the high several times or such close to the low several times. It makes it a little difficult to determine. There is crossing though with a pretty big move to the upside, and then the establishment of support at a higher price level, at least temporarily. I'm advised not to chase a rally mid-month, and it looks like, yeah, like here we get into where highs are. Behavior around the highest high, we have a rally along a diagonal trend line breaking through horizontal resistance on a multi-day scale to meet a second resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels, and that's the chart behavior that forms the high, or the highest high I should say. And then behavior around the lowest low for the month of September is a decline through multiple support levels. And my sense is that takes place. We likely have a low somewhere between the 4th and the 8th. It's hard to determine exactly where. It might be on the 6th, it might be on the 4th, it might be on the 8th. It's difficult to determine exactly where it is because we have several different things going on here. It may be that we see it several times or just once, but one of these three will really hold up. And then it's possible that we see another low here on the 16th, but there's a big decline here off of this unicursal into like the 15th, 16th. The 15th and 16th are also cross-reading correlations for the 1 year. When we look at the 1 year scale, the 15th worry card comes up as the high correlator on the September cluster of the 1 year, and the Knight of Discs card is the low significator on the September cluster of the 1 year. They both have correlations. We didn't see a cross correlation to the Virtue card, but we did find the Queen of Cups towards the end of the month, so that'll be significant. It's also important to point out that we have a cross-reading congruency. Well, maybe not exactly a cross-reading congruency, but like an overlapping correspondences. The unicursal corresponds to late September around the low. There's also a unicursal here on 12th. So what we need to find are a place where we see notable decline through multiple supports, and there is a possibility of a decline through multiple supports taking place. When we're looking for the low, we want to see that. And when we're trying to determine where the lowest low is, we're looking for an area on the 1 year or on the 1 month where we have a decline through multiple support levels. So there could be a decline through multiple support levels here into a low. There's a notable decline here, probably through multiple support levels into the 15th, 16th. It's even possible we see it again here. It's really kind of hard to determine the 4th. It might be like a prominent crest too, so I'm just going to add that in there as a possibility. It's difficult, like I said, when it's sideways behavior, so it's best to go with the overall sequence of events, because the timing may vary a little bit based on it being so blurry from such sideways narrow behavior. With that said, let's take a look at the July reading and see how we're doing. So we definitely nailed the low. We had a low here, let's say on the 5th, 6th, and we have the low correlator here on the morning of the 5th, possibly again on the 6th, but we have it here in the early morning on the 5th. Big move was on the 12th, and you can see we went from the bottom of a range all the way to a top of a range there. A trough on the 13th, 14th, prominent trough on the 13th, 14th, and it looks like thus far the highest size here on the 12th, but my sense is that we go higher because there's nothing really corresponding over here around the 12th, 13th, or around the, well, possibly the 19th, 20th. This ruin right here can indicate a highest high in some cases, and we do have a high correlation here. But my sense is that we probably have higher still, somewhere around the 23rd, 24th, and then there should be a pretty significant drop to lows again here, over here, towards the end of the month, which I think I probably left out of the actual recording, which is why it's so valuable to be a subscriber, guys, because you get the content sooner than everybody else. You also get, there's information that I uncover as I'm going through just the paid version. So they get all sorts of information and updates. Because I'm not right all the time. Sometimes things change, and other times there's parts that aren't very clear. And then as things transpire, the remainder becomes very much more clear. So that's looking really solid, guys. If you opened up a long position here on the 5th and held it to the 13th, 14th, that would have been a good indicator. Matter of fact, the Science card and the Ace of Swords are kind of toppy cards, so I should have been able to see that. I kind of left that out, but then there's toppy cards here around the 19th, 20th. There's toppy stuff going on. In any case, you would have made a pretty good amount of money. You would have left, thus far, it looks like you would have left a little bit on the table, but who knows, because we haven't got to the 25th, 26th yet. But as far as the trade information that you would have got from the paid version, there was definitely money made with this XRP reading. All right, so let's get into the day by day. On the first, we have a decline that increases with momentum. There's an important resistance level on a multi-day scale that's highlighted there. And then on the second, a U-shaped dip that forms near the intersection of two perpendicular diagonal trend lines. It's either a U-shaped dip or just a decline. The Priestess card in some cases is just a decline, but usually it's two peaks with a valley in between. And then you kind of have the opposite type of chart behavior on the third, where we have a prominent move higher followed by a full retracement, although I am seeing sometimes that the art card in certain instances is just bullish. It's either bullish or it's a retracement of a bullish move, but it looks like it's probably bullish there. And then the following morning, we likely down, or we go from a peak to a trough very quickly in the early part of the day there. Possible location of a lowest low. And then there's a period of volatility and a sharp drop that stands out in that period of volatility on the 4th. Also, we should see a notable move to the upside around the 4th as well, because we have a correlation to the wealth card. So in the midst of that volatility, a sharp drop should stand out, and then we should see a big move to the upside somewhere near the 4th. On the 5th, out of a decline, we have a big move higher. There's a trade opportunity both on the 4th and the 5th that are significant, and I'll talk about those in more detail in the paid version. On the 6th, we have a prominent trough or possible lowest low here. We have a prominent move higher, and it looks like a rally into the end of the day with like a sharp drop overnight to a prominent trough for the month, possibly a lowest low. A lot of price change going on back and forth between the 6th and the 7th, and we do have a notable drop somewhere on the 7th. Matter of fact, that full card is probably a sharp decline based on the ruin and the combination of the full card and kind of like this peak or crest that we have on the cusp of the 6th, 7th somewhere. A sharp decline also through multiple support levels is what takes us into the lowest low, and this is a strong probable location of a lowest low. I'd say the 8th is stronger probability than the 4th, and the 6th is stronger probability than the 4th, but not the 8th. And here around the 6th or the 8th is the strongest probability of a low anywhere on the chart. It looks like, although we may see them again at the end of the month. It's possible, a lot of sideways behavior. Price change around the 3rd, 4th too, and around the 7th, 8th, back and forth. Off of the low, we have a rally that offers opportunity to open up a short position, so we probably come back to a low again. Like there's a big move higher early in the day and then a big move lower late in the day again. Out of oversold territory on the 9th, we have a big move that stands out on a multi-day scale. There's an important resistance there that's highlighted. It's possible that this is so narrow that we're seeing highest high on the 7th and on the 10th too, but it's like, you know, it's really kind of narrow behavior. The Science card is sometimes a high, and then there's a peak or crest at the end of the day on the 10th, followed by a decline on the 11th that ends with a fast sudden move higher that takes us into the 12th, and there's a prominent peak or crest there on the 12th in the midst of a breakout on a multi-day scale, but that breakout doesn't hold. That's a unicursal energy and an opportunity there. We'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Guys, if you're interested in the paid version, it's a really great way to support the channel, and you also get about 3 to 8 extra minutes of content at the end of the paid version, which is all about the best trades that we see, what trades to avoid, what trades we think are probably the best, and what entry and exit points as far as chart behavior we would be looking for to get in and out of these trades. The timing, it gives you kind of like an estimate of the timing, which usually is pretty on point, but there are cases where it'll be off by a day or so, which is why you want to be looking for chart behavior over timing. Just look for that chart behavior around the timing, if that makes sense, and you'll be able to enter and exit. People are making a lot of money with this stuff. You saw that some of the trades that we talked about in the July reading. So if you're interested in supporting the channel and getting that extra information, we also definitely know your name if you're one of the people doing that. You go to our services, SO Meta Posts, scroll down to monthly subscriptions, click here to order, and currently you can subscribe to any one of these tickers of crypto on a monthly basis. There's also one-offs, or there's also Amazon and Google that come out pretty regularly, almost every month, but they're not like something that you can subscribe to on a single basis. You would need to subscribe to the all paid monthly access here for $250, which gives you paid access to all of these tickers and crypto, but also to the ones that you can't subscribe to. And we look at it from the standpoint of of multi-month and multi-year scale if there's relevant trades there as well. So thank you to all those of you that go ahead and do that. And let's get back into it, guys. On the 13th, we have a decline to revisit a support level that we met once before. Possibly what we saw here on the 11th, or we could possibly go back to lows again, although I don't think we go all the way to the lows. On the 14th, prominent trough, it'll stand out on a multi-day, and then it looks like there's a pretty big move to the upside around the 14th, 15th on that cusp, a really big move to the upside. Another location where there is some possibility of a highest high here. We have a cross-reading congruency for the highest high on the September cluster here, and then also this ruin indicates a pretty big move. And so if we're in a really tight range, this could end up being a highest high. If it's not a tight range, then I would say the ones that are less probable are going to be highest highs or lowest lows, but in a tight range, they very well could be again. There's a significant trade opportunity on the 13th and the 15th. We talk about in the paid version in more detail. On the 15th, cross-reading congruency with the low correlator of the September cluster on the 1 year. There is some probability of a lowest low here. I would say it's not as strong as over here because the cross-reading congruencies don't always line up on timing. They line up an appearance of reading. And so what we have here on the 16th is a period of sideways rotation, right? We decline off what it might be a highest high. There's definitely a peak or crest here on the cusp of the 14th, 15th. We decline off of that crest or peak down to and through support to meet a second support, and then we rotate sideways out of the 15th into the 16th, where the rotating sideways ends eventually on the 16th with a fast sudden move higher. And then on the 17th, we have more sideways rotation along a key support. We rise to meet the nearest resistance and then fall back down and continue rotating sideways along that key support. On the 18th, 3 pokes through the same price level followed by a sharp drop. There's also correlation there to an important resistance level where things kind of flatten out around that resistance. And then it looks like we probably break through that resistance, or that price level carries over as relevant until the 19th, but we break through it at least momentarily with a big move to the upside, breaking through that resistance. We stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through it, creating a possible highest high here, highest probable location here of a highest high around the cusp of the 19th, 20th. On the 20th, some pretty erratic behavior back and forth and a fake out of some kind there, so be very mindful about that. Probably decline on the 20th pretty notably, and on the 21st, we have out of a decline, a big move from the bottom of the range all the way to the top of the range. Probably that rally continues into the 22nd where we revisit the highest high, very high probability of revisiting a highest high there. When we break through key resistance, we stay above it briefly, and then we break back down through that same price level shortly thereafter with the full retracement. Early in the day on the 23rd, there's a trade opportunity, and the 23rd, there's an important range that's highlighted, probably capped off at the top of a range there, and then we decline on the 24th pretty notably. If the month has been in a really, really tight range, then it's highly probable that we see a lowest low again here on the 24th, 25th. Cross-reading congruency with the late September card in the September cluster of the 1 year reading. What do I mean? When you go to the 1 year reading, the September cluster, which is these 4 cards, the late part of September is the Queen of Cups, and we see it here in late September, cross-reading congruency. So this is an important moment here, and if it's in tight range, like I think it is, these could be lowest lows again. If it's a wide range, these aren't likely to be lowest lows, they're more likely to just be important troughs. Back and forth behavior going on from like the 24th into the 26th, especially on the 25th where we have a trough and it really stands out, and then another peak or crest on the 26th when bumping along resistance on a multi-day scale. Key resistance is probably met at the end of the day on the 26th, and then from that key resistance on the cusp of the 26th, 27th, we break down with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. Looks like a notable peak midday, not as high as the peak from the 26th or the cusp of the 26th, 27th, but midday on the 27th there is a notable peak, and then a significant trough at the end of the day or on the cusp of the 27th, 28th. It's highly likely that we have a lowest low again there. If it's a tight range, very likely a lowest low. If it's not a tight range, then it's just going to be an important trough. Fast sudden move higher on the 29th and a failed attempt on the 30th to break through key resistance on a multi-day scale, followed by a decline through key support on a multi-day scale. And it's usually support that we previously falsely established just before the attempt to break through key resistance. So like support that's formed somewhere around the 27th, 28th. The sneak preview for the following month of October is the Knight of Swords, which is a volatility and a fast sudden move higher ending that volatility. Guys, that's the XRP September reading. Make sure to follow that rule of karma. It's the most important purpose of the channel. We're taking the competitive energy of the stock market and transmute it into goodwill. And you do that by following the rule of karma here on the resources tab. It's also the way that continue profiting from this information. Every time you profit, follow the rule of karma and the universe will reward you for it. So 5% of the profits profit should be donated forward to one of these charities right here. Just click on one of these links and donate. Very easy to do. 5% of the profit should be donated back to the channel. Also very easy to do. Just click on one of these links. Much appreciation goes out to my angel investors supporting the channel with that extra little bit and in doing goodwill for the world. Make sure to spend that 90% out of love. As long as you follow those rules, my friends, the universe will send it back to you tenfold through this channel. Stay tuned if you got the paid version. We're going to get into that next. I'll see you guys on the next one.